Hello, welcome to Pop Culture Shark, a live stream where we talk about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today we've got a pretty big show. We're going to talk about some indie games. I've been playing a new one this week, so I thought, you know what, let's talk about some of our favorite indie games of all time. But before we get there, let's do our weekend checkup. Caleb, how you doing today?
I'm doing really well, actually. I have had a great jam-packed weekend. I needed a good jam-packed weekend. The work week was a little much. It's definitely starting to feel like a job. Still, I'm happy to be working where I'm working. It feels good. Um, but this weekend I got to play some Dungeons and Dragons 5e, which is exciting because whenever I play D&D with my friends, typically we do our Star Wars homebrew, and sometimes it's nice to just kick back, not worry about having to match up with Star Wars canon, and just create a fun character and go on an adventure. So it was a lot of fun. I got to play that with it was a family game, which was really fun. I've never done that before. And then yesterday, Cameron and I actually went out to um, a tournament for fighting games, and we both ended up placing very well in our respective games. Cameron actually won Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, so that was awesome. He paid for dinner. And then he also got second in DNF, which is the dungeon fighter fighting game, and then he got ninth in Guilty Gear, and then I ended up getting seventh in DNF. So I made top eight, which was really exciting. Um, and then my claim to fame now, I got third in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So I was
Nice.
I was repping Nova. Shout outs to the Nova movie, Ryan Gosling, please. But yeah, Nova is one of my favorite fighting game characters, and so being able to get third place in my favorite fighting game of all time, got to fight some of the pros. Static Alpha and Airborne showed up, and they were the ones who beat me. But it's always a good time. So yeah, this weekend has been pretty jam packed, pretty fun. How about yourself?
Awesome. Yeah, we I took the boys to go see Rift Tracks live last
No.
Thursday. They did Return of Swamp Thing, which is always a fun
Oh,
watch.
now that
I
one's not Wes Craven, right?
Right, this is the one with Heather Locklear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's 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 a special week. It's not a I wouldn't call it like a an awful can't watch movie. It's very cheesy. It's a fun watch. But yeah, I've seen worse superhero
Mhm.
movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, and I stand by. I think the Wes Craven one is actually not that bad.
yeah, I was telling my boys that there was a time, it's a brief little window where Swamp Thing got very popular all of a sudden, and then kind of went away. He
Shout
had
outs to
like
Alan Moore.
yeah, there was two movies, TV show that lasted 3 seasons, cartoon show, toy line, so just this very brief little window, there was kind of like a little Swamp Thing mania going on. So
Yep. I think we ended up having that again here a couple years ago, whenever DC Rebirth first started happening, because Swamp Thing was in everything. He was in Young Justice. He wasn't like in Justice League Dark a whole lot, but they really pushed him in the marketing.
yeah,
And then Tom King, whenever he was at his height, writing the Batman ongoing, he wrote the Swamp Thing Winter Special, which I still think is one of the greatest single issues that has ever been written. Oh, and Tom King also wrote. Uh, there was a Batman Swamp Thing crossover called Brave and the Mold, which is a great name.
that is a good name. Cool. All right, let's talk a little bit about news, and we'll do a little bit of reactions to some of the streaming shows that have came out recently. Um, the news I want to talk about is we got some rumors about Madam Web. Let me add that to the banners real quick. Um, so Madam Web, for those who don't know, is a spin-off of Spider-Man that Sony's making. Um, and we got some rumored plot details that are I don't I don't hate it. I'm starting to see the potential the more I hear about it.
I might. I might.
Um, so we got some. Here's what the rumored casting is. You got Dakota Johnson as Cassandra Webb, Sydney Sweeney as Julia Carpenter, who was the second Spider Woman in the comic books, Isabella Merced as Anya Corazon, Celeste O'Connor as Maddie Franklin. These are some various Spider Girls and Spider Women from the comics. Emma Roberts as Mary Parker, the mother of Peter Parker, and Adam Scott as Ben Parker. And the rumored plot is this is going to be like a Terminator type story where someone is going back in time to kill Mary Parker before she can give birth to Peter. Or to at least kill Peter as a baby, something along those lines. And so Cassandra Webb is assembling a team of different Spider characters to go back and stop this from happening. That's the rumored plot. Now, I think the issue that you have with it is it's rumored to involve one of your favorite characters, Ezekiel.
Yes. Not a fan. Ezekiel, I'm very particular about. Now, if Adam Scott plays both Ben and Ezekiel, I'd be fine with that, because Ezekiel was always supposed to have a striking resemblance to Uncle Ben, because there was always that implication that maybe Ezekiel was another version of Peter. That doesn't look like that's happening. In fact, from what I've read, Ezekiel being the villain, I am not on board with, because Ezekiel is definitely not a villain.
I wonder. I wonder if
idea
Morlun is off limits, maybe because of the Spider Verse movies.
That is exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Because I would definitely think it would be someone like Morlun or something. But yeah, like it's the equivalent of. I'm trying to think of a good one. What's a? It would be like if we, instead of having Ra's al Ghul go back in time, we end up having Alfred go back in time to try to kill Bruce Wayne as a kid. I don't know, something that's not a great
Or someone
analogy,
like
but it's
Lucius Fox, or somebody that doesn't make
right,
sense, some type of weird ally. You're like, wait, huh?
right. Someone who's you're taking an uh, 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 an ally of the hero and making them the villain, because you're not allowed to use the actual villain from the story that the ally comes from.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a Madam Web movie. I don't know what I was expecting from a Madam Web movie. It's a hard concept to turn into a movie. This is not the worst idea I've heard. That
It's
being
not.
that being said, we could either get Terminator out of this or like Terminator Genesis.
And I don't know. I'll definitely watch this, just because it's Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, and Emma Roberts. I'm gonna watch it. Like I'm a 25-year-old young man. Of course, I'm gonna watch this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
not a horrible idea. There's just one slight I have against it.
Yeah. So it's not as weird as like making a whole movie based off of Craven or something that doesn't quite make sense, or like the rumored Black Cat Silver Sable movie we keep hearing about. Um, It's I don't get the thinking behind a lot of these Spider-Man spin-off movies. Like, why are they choosing the characters they're choosing? But who
I
knows?
mean, there's an interesting show. Pitch a Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man. See what you can come up with. I could do it.
Well, I think if you're gonna do Madam Web, it might be better as like a TV show, and like each week she just tells the backstory of some Spider-Man character. Like, here's the web that Spider-Man weaves, and here's the story of Electro, or something. I don't know. It'd be almost like an anthology or something.
Yeah,
So
like it's the in the Sony Spider-Man cinematic universe. It is their version of What If.
yeah, almost, yeah. Like, I don't know. I think there's very few Spider-Man characters that could carry their own movie, at least villains wise. I think Lizard probably could.
I
I,
think you could. I think okay. So Venom, of course, they're already doing, and for the most part, I think they're doing pretty well with Venom, just because they're really leaning into the fact that like um, Venom is weird and um,
well, Venom has had a stint as a hero in the comics, so
yeah,
that kind of makes sense.
yeah.
I could maybe do a Hobgoblin series where he's just, where he's selling supervillain identities to other villains, and maybe he gets in over his head, and everybody's after him, and
I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this out there, and you get me a bunch of D-list Spider-Man villains. We could do Superior Foes.
that could be fun.
Be
And
amazing.
like it'd be funny if the whole movie they're plotting to get Spider-Man and they never find him the whole
Right.
movie because they're so incompetent, and
Yeah.
maybe they end up saving the day somehow because they're so
Right.
bad.
Right. Like Boomerang throws his boomerang, but he forgets that it comes back, and so like he saves the day because he forgets his boomerang comes back.
And then, like, the end of the day, like, we never found Spider-Man. They just have them all get covered in web at the end. They're like, oh crap! They just go cut the black. He webbed them up, and
You know, now that we're talking about this, I also want to see like a Rogues movie, like from the Flash, like just with uh Trickster and um, Captain Cold and
yeah,
Captain
Heat
Boomerang.
Wave, all them, Mirror
Yeah,
Master, yeah. He's
just make
got
it a
such
fun
great
time.
villains. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like, so we always talk about how like I've heard so many people say that um, DC villains are just Batman villains. Um, I think there is a hint of truth to that. I definitely agree. Um, but I mean, like, Flash has such funny villains. Like you put Batman's villains and Flash's villains together, and you will get the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery.
yeah,
They're two halves of the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery. It's really fun.
yep. All right, we got a lot to talk about, so we're gonna move on from Adam
Yep.
Webb. Um, so let's talk about some of the streaming shows that popped up. You watched The Sandman, which I have
Yeah.
not seen. I'm on the fence about watching it. So sell me on The Sandman.
Yeah, I actually so I've only seen the first two episodes. I really like it actually. It's a lot of fun. And by fun, I mean like it's really like twisty, mind bendy I guess. Cuz it's definitely not like a roller coaster fun ride. Um but the first episode is super interesting because the main character is actually the people keeping Dream locked up, because that's kind of the whole thing with the Sandman comics is it starts off with him being imprisoned for about 106 years or so, and then he comes back and the dream world is all messed up, and most people who worked for him had left, or they went to work for other um, work for some of the other people like Death or someone. Uh, and then there's a I think his name is Cornelius. Cornelius is super fun because he's a nightmare who his eyes are teeth, and
Yeah, I remember him.
it's a really like Neil Gaiman thing, and so like the effect is like super like trippy.
Disturbing. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and then they showed him because he in these 106 years he's become a serial killer and he's trying to make everyone like him.
Yeah. So
Uh,
that's where I tried to read Sandman once. I got through the first two volumes, and I remember the first one was where the guy got the powers of Sandman and he was torturing the people in the gas station or something,
yeah,
convenience
yeah.
store or something. That story was trippy, and then the serial killer convention just weirded me out so much I had to stop reading.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's definitely super weird. Definitely not for everybody, but I definitely think that after our excursion through Resident Evil, it is something that I can be like, okay, Netflix hasn't like completely lost it.
yeah,
But I am liking it. I'm going to continue watching it.
okay,
And the gender bend there's an idea of a gender bended um, Joanna Constantine, which that doesn't bother me because uh, John was already bisexual in the comics, so he was always kind of flamboyant anyway. So it really doesn't matter what his gender is.
yeah. Uh, yeah, I might check it out. We'll see. You'll have to keep me updated on if it sticks the landing.
Yeah,
Because I hate watching a show that because usually the pilot episode or the first two episodes are way different from the rest of the series.
yeah,
Because that's kind of what they're trying to get sold on, and then
yeah.
the studios make changes. So very
Oh,
cool. Oh,
actually, one weird thing. I just saw this on IGN like 20 minutes ago.
mhm.
They like soft released an 11th episode like
Yeah,
yesterday.
I saw that. There's a surprise episode that got released. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, more of
Um,
that, please.
yeah, I would love that if they, it's like, oh, Obi-Wan's gonna be 8 episodes. Oh, just kidding. There's a Night Secret episode. That type of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Show me, like, let me unlock the true ending. Let me fight the secret final boss.
Right. So I checked out She-Hulk, and I quite enjoyed it. I know there's a lot of people complaining online. Of course, it's the internet.
I've
Um,
heard a lot of good things about it, actually.
yeah, I mean, you've got the usual crowd of saying, "Oh, this is woke Marvel or MCU or whatever they say." Uh, no, it was. It was. I mean, it's She-Hulk, so you're gonna have a little bit of feminism in there, but it was fine. There was one conversation people are pointing out where she was complaining about how difficult it is to be a woman and how she has it harder than Bruce. So that I kind of roll my eyes at because of all the crap Bruce has been through. But at the same time, they haven't really shown a lot of that in the movies. They just kind of say it like
Yeah,
they hint, oh yeah, Hulk tried to commit suicide, but we didn't show you that. Um, so there's another part where she says that she's better than Bruce because she can control the transformations, and that's true. She in that sense she is better than Bruce because she doesn't have multiple personality disorder like Bruce does. So and that's due to the abuse that his father did to him as a child. So but other than that, I enjoyed it. It's a quick watch. I think the first episode was like 37 minutes, and then I think they're gonna get shorter from here. um, but yeah, it's I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of
yeah.
fun with
I'm
it.
excited to watch it.
The CGI on the Hulk looked amazing. Like I was just sitting there staring at the Hulk, going, "Wow, he looks just like he walked out, an Eric Larson comic or something." Like it looked really good. Um, I'm so old. I'm like an Eric Larson Hulk comic from 1993. Um,
1993. Yeah, that was before I was born. If you want to feel really old.
yeah, yeah. But they apparently all the episodes do have end credit sequences. Um, so just if you're gonna watch it, just know that.
Well,
But
let's go
yeah,
ahead real quick into spoiler mode, if I could, because there is one
okay.
thing that I heard about. I want to get your opinion on it.
Hmm.
So if you haven't watched She-Hulk yet, go ahead and mute or skip ahead maybe about 2 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And once again, I haven't seen it. I was just spoiled by this, but I really want to get your opinion.
Hmm.
What do you think about the possibility of Captain America being Star-Lord's grandpa?
Being whose grandpa?
Star-Lord's grandpa?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, you're
Really?
talking
Okay.
about the. I'm trying to think of what you're thinking about. So you're
Okay.
saying, because that is a big debate in the episode, is whether or not Steve was a virgin when he died,
And
or
so,
or at the end of Infinity War, or whatever.
yeah, yeah. And so, from what I can tell, is Bruce finally caves and says he lost it to someone during the first USO tour back in the
Right,
40s.
one of the dancing girls. Yeah.
So there is actually a scene where I don't remember the actress's name, but she would go on to play, like she goes and gets his autograph.
Okay.
And she goes on to play Star Lord's mom in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Well, James Gunn has retroactively said that that is her mother, meaning that's Star Lord's grandma. And so perhaps she was the one that he lost his virginity to on the USO tour, meaning that Captain America would be Star Lord's grandpa.
I mean, it's possible. I've went on the theory for a long time that it was Joe Kelly's intention for Deadpool to be the son of Captain America. So sure, I'm fine with this.
Okay. I was just curious because
I
I think that's hilarious. I don't know if I subscribe to it, but it's a funny thing to think about.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like fan head canon. They'll never say that in the
Yes, yes,
movies or anything.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It's kind of like how like the fan headcanon in Iron Man 2 was that kid was Peter
Spider
Parker.
Man. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah. So I'm curious where it's go. They didn't really spend a whole lot of time in the courtroom in this first episode, so I want to see more of that. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's gonna be a very
I'm
fun show.
definitely ready for the courtroom drama where and like what I love about She-Hulk courtroom drama is she is She-Hulk in the courtroom. Like it's not like she is just Jennifer Walters. Like no, she transforms. She is cool with being green in the courtroom, and I love it.
Yeah, I think we'll get there. We're not quite there in the first episode, but I think after the first episode we'll get to that point. And yeah, I think this is gonna be a fun show. Um, they answer a lot of your questions about the Hulk. They set up some future stuff about the Hulk this episode, so I'm curious to see where that's going to go. So very cool. Yeah, this was an enjoyable watch. The Disney Plus shows have been hit or miss, but I think this one's on the hit side. So very cool. All right, so we're going to get a little bit into tonight's topic. I bought a new indie game last week. I haven't had a whole lot of time to play it, but I've been watching a lot of other people play it, and that is called Cult of the Lamb. Have you seen this game, Caleb?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about it because part of me is like, I shouldn't be playing this. um, but it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like Animal Crossing mixed with like the Binding of Isaac or something. Um, and let me find a picture of it. Hold on. Yeah, I think it's just this. It's fun. The game is kind of split into two pieces. You're managing your town, your cult, and then you're going out on missions trying to kill the other elder gods. So you rescue cultists and you bring them in, you preach them sermons, you make up what the rules are. So, are you going to have a fighter pit where the cultists can fight? Are you going to bury your cultists? There's all these important decisions you have to make, and it's all very cutesy and cartoony because they're all little animals, but it's also kind of horrific at the same time. So, yeah, I think this game is pretty funny. So it's like borderline where I'm just like, I don't know if I should be playing this.
Oh,
Um,
that's my favorite line to be on.
yeah,
I
we're
love
just
I love the border. This is gonna be weird coming from a pastor's kid, or it may be very natural coming from a pastor's kid. I don't know.
no.
I love borderline sacrilege. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I'm just kind of keep it in my head. I what I find fascinating it is it's kind of teaching me how cults work, how like other religions in the Bible that's like the Israelites went up against. I'm just picturing, okay, I could see how they would fall into worshiping this or that or whatever, and how people get corrupted, and so I just find it interesting.
Oh yeah.
So, so we thought, it'd be fun to talk about some of our favorite indie games. We each picked three. So, Caleb, which one do you want to talk about first?
Um, you know what? Why don't we go with the granddaddy of all indie games, the classic. I believe you actually introduced me to this game all way back when. So I
Mm-hmm.
will go ahead and pull up a picture of it. Let's see how I. Yeah, that's how you do it. I haven't done this in so long,
Mm-hmm.
but let's talk about Alien Hominid. Alien Hominid is definitely a favorite of mine. It is probably the first indie game that I ever played. If you don't know the history of this game, it started off on a website called Newgrounds, where people would make these flash games and their flash cartoons. I spent a lot of my time on Newgrounds. My parents were not happy whenever all the viruses came in. Um, but they eventually released Alien Hominid on consoles as a full game. And this is one of my favorite games. If you like stuff like Gunstar Heroes and Contra, it very much has that feel. Um, it's like, one hit you're dead. You got grenades, uh, different weapons,
uh,
and
I was
what's
gonna
up?
say this game is super difficult.
Yes, the game is super difficult. Oddly enough, it was easier when me and Cameron were kids, because we went back and played this, and we're like, I remember us being a lot better at this game.
Yeah.
Um, but
It's cartoony and over the top violence, but they have a mode where it's non-violence, and instead of
oh,
everybody shooting blood out, they shoot flowers out and stuff. It's
yeah.
it's pretty funny.
Well, and what you have a melee. Whenever you're like really close and you press the shoot button, it actually doesn't shoot. It'll melee them. So you'll either decapitate them with a knife, or you'll bite their head off. Um, and so I'm trying to think. You start off because there are three acts. There are you fight the FBI,
Mm-hmm.
followed by the KGB,
Mm-hmm.
and then you fight the United States military, which is a lot of fun. Um, and you get to put on different hats. And if this art style looks familiar to any of you, I'm sure I'm sure more people have played Castle Crashers than this game. This was the game they
Yeah.
made before Castle Crashers, and I like this game a little bit better than Castle Crashers. Um, but yeah, this is a childhood game of mine, and I love it. And so I don't want to talk too in depth about the indie games as much as I did Ocarina of Time, because this is less analysis and more. I'm trying to sell you on the games. I want
Yeah.
you to go play these.
If you like stuff like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch or Invader Zim, this is very
Hmm.
much that type of silliness and just chaos running around, killing and shooting things. It's a
Yes.
lot of fun. Like I said, though, it's super super difficult.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so let me switch this then. All right, so I'm gonna pick one, and I have a confession. I've never actually played this, but I've
Okay.
watched several people play through it several times. Um, and that is Doki Doki Literature Club. I told you about this one a few months ago, I believe.
It is in my Steam account right now. I have not played it, but it's
So
free on Steam and I have it.
I'm going to be super vague about this. This is a take on it's almost like a visual novel, but not quite. That's why I've just been able to watch people play it. But I mean, there is some gameplay mechanics as you get into it. Basically, it's a take on those Japanese dating simulator games where you're surrounded by cute girls and you are trying what's I don't want to say seduce them, but you're trying to make them fall in love with you
You're
and
trying to form, strong relationships,
a
strong
strong
bond.
bond with them. There we go.
I've been playing a
Uh,
lot of Fire Emblem Awakening this week, so I've been doing the dating sim thing.
yeah. So there's four girls. Yuri, Natsumi. Oh, it's not Sakurai, but something like that. Sayori, and Monica. Um, and so throughout the game, you are choosing. You're writing poems. So by writing poems, you're choosing which words you think are going to appeal to which girl. That's kind of like the gameplay mechanic. And that'll kind of choose which path you go down. Now, this all sounds like, why are you talking about this, Aaron? This sounds horrible.
Well, I think this is going to be really funny if someone were just to randomly click on the stream
Oh
and then
yeah, I've been talking about cults, and now I'm talking about this.
they were
So
just looking for a She-Hulk review. Like,
yeah, yeah, we talked about Shield for 5 minutes and we were out. Um, but yeah, uh, don't sleep on this game. Let me say this: this game looks cute, and you'll you end up playing through it about 4 or 5 times to get the true ending. Stick with this game until you get to the first ending, and then see if you still want to play it if you're not sold on it. So first you're gonna be like, oh, I don't like my main character. He's kind of a creep, and that's kind of the joke is that this is a take on those Japanese games. But then the game takes a turn, and that's all I'm going to say. It kind of turns into something else, and it's really cool, and it gets more and more cool as it goes on as things happen. Um, it does deal with just some disturbing topics like depression, self harm, eating disorders. So if any of those are triggering, it might not be for you. There's a big warning screen that pops up when you turn the game on the first time. Um, but yeah, definitely. And there's two ways to play this when things start happening. When you get to the twist, you can kind of play it just playing along with the story, or the game is kind of dropping hints like, "Hey, you should really go do this instead." And if you follow that path, it's a much different experience, and it's really cool. And that's all I'll say. I'm being very vague, but I love this game. It's one of my favorites.
what recommendations you have brought to us today?
it's it goes down some. It takes some turns, and it just
I feel like our roles are switched. Usually, I'd be the one recommending the cults and the anime stuff.
it just and like I said, I have a friend who hates anime, and I know would love this game if they would take the chance and play it because it after the turn and the twist happens, it's so good. but to get there, you gotta go through this. I don't like my main character. I don't. He's kind of a creep. And then it just spirals out of control.
It is in my Steam account. It's free to play, so I downloaded it for free. I have not. Well, I have not installed it or anything. It is just sitting there.
So
I
probably let's do this. Once we get through the summer of bad movies, whatever, one week I will make you play this.
Okay. All right.
um, it doesn't take. You could probably finish it in a week if you play a little bit each day. Um, it gets to a point where some of the dialogue. Well, no, actually, I take that back. I was going to say the dialogue repeats, but it doesn't really. Um, I've just seen so many playthroughs. I think the dialogue's repeating in my head, but it's not. Um, yeah, this is a fun one to watch people's reactions to it because it goes places. So yeah, highly recommended. Like I said, you look at this and go, "What the heck are you talking about, Aaron?" But it is, and if you look at people with the year this came out, this was like the ones who played it were like, "Oh yeah, this is one of the best games of the year." So, um, really cool. All right, what's next on your list?
So I want to go ahead and now that I've talked about the grandfather of all indie games, I want to talk about my favorite indie game. I play this game all the time. Um, I could probably speed run this game. I play it so much, and that is uh, Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon. Fun fact: for I was super excited for the Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I'm a big Castlevania fan. Of course, I am. I've talked about Castlevania so much. I've never played Ritual of the Night. It's something I never got around to. But whenever I think this came out about a year before Ritual of the Night, and so I got this game. It was one of those Kickstarter goals because Bloodstain was originally a Kickstarter, and one of the Kickstarter goals was if we reach this amount of money, we will make a sort of 8-bit version prequel to Bloodstain.
Oh, that looks
Um,
cool.
Oh, it's so good. It's one of my favorites. It is pretty much based off of gameplay wise Castlevania 3
Yeah, that's what it
because
looks like. Yeah.
yeah, up in the so there are four different characters. You have um, I love this game. I don't even remember their names, but there is Edgy Virgil Man, who is the main character. Then you have female Belmonts. I believe her name is like Miriam or something like that. She's the main character of the Ritual of the Night game, and she very much plays like a Belmont. Then you have a wizard who you can collect spells and cast different spells, which is a lot of fun. And then you have your Alucard type character who can transform into a bat, so you can skip parts of the level. Um, and there's actually a really cool part of the game because you start off as Virgil, edgy man, Devil May Cry guy, and as you go throughout the game, each level you collect a new party member,
Mm-hmm.
but you can choose to kill them. And if you kill them, you absorb their energy and you get a new ability for Virgil McEdgy Man guy. So, like you can choose to kill a character and you'll get kind of a double jump slash crescent moon slash. So like it'll be like if you play Super Star Wars, whenever he does like the little spinny thing,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot like that. Um, Another one is you get this really cool air combo if you kill um, another member of the party. And so every playthrough can be different if you want it to, because you can kill one party member but keep another if you'd like. Um, and there are three different endings because you have the first ending where you collect all the party members and you beat the game. Then you can go back through and you play as the main character and you kill everyone. There's a different ending. Then what you do is there's a bonus mode where the main character dies at the end, and so the three party members that you collect go through um, kind of like a revamped version of the game. trying to search for him. And so you're playing as every character except for the main character. And so you get to go through different pathways because Miriam can jump higher than the rest of them. And then, of course, you have your Alucard character who can transform into a bat and get places that you wouldn't have been able to get to on your first playthrough. And then there's the final version where you play, and this is after you find the main character after he supposedly died, but you bring him back, and so you play as all 4 characters, and you have all of the new abilities that you can get from killing them, but you don't have to kill them, you just have them automatically. And so you're getting at least 4 completely different playthroughs out of this game. And it's pretty decently sized. At this point, I can beat each one in about one sitting. But it is so much fun. This is absolutely my favorite indie game. I absolutely love this game. The boss fights are so fun. The sub-weapon system is fantastic. And hearts give you life, which makes way more sense to me than the chicken, and then the hearts giving you ammo that Castlevania does. Purple vases give you ammo, which makes sense to me. So yeah, if you have not played Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, absolutely play it. It is absolutely in my top 10 games of all time. I love it so much.
Very cool. All right. One thing I forgot to mention about Doki Doki Literature Club, I was going to throw in here.
Yes.
On the
please.
computer, the original version is free. There is a version on the Switch that costs money where they've added a lot of content, but the OG version is free on the computer. So, okay. Next, another game that I've actually never played, but again, I've watched so many playthroughs of this, I feel like I have played it, is Stanley's Parable. Have you heard of this one, Caleb?
This one I have not. It definitely sounds like it just sounds like Binding of Isaac.
Oh, you know what? I have totally got the name wrong. Let me fix that.
The Stanley Parable.
The Stanley Parable. Basically, you play as a guy who wakes up in his office building, and the building is completely empty. And there's a narrator describing everything that you are doing. They're like, "Oh, Stanley woke up and there's nobody here, and oh, so he wandered to the break room, and he took the door on his left." But you can play it and listen to the narrator, or you can make your own decisions. And when you start making your own decisions and going off the script, the narrator starts getting mad. And so the whole game, the more decisions you make, let's see, the more decisions you make, the more endings you're going to start finding, and the more secrets you're going to start finding. And the fun part is the narrator. The narrator has so much dialogue in the game. He is constantly berating you, talking about how, oh, Staley just decided to do his own thing and not listen to the smart narrator, just all this stuff. It's very funny. It's a lot about, do you have free will? Do you not have free will when you're playing these games? Just a real deconstruction of everything. They just released a new version of the game that has like double the endings, all new content that just came out on the Switch. Amazing game. And again, this sounds like something I'm describing to you, and you're like, what are you talking about, Aaron? But this game is fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm looking this up. I mean, it makes sense now that I've read this. It was a mod for Half-Life 2, which definitely makes sense. Because it from the screens that you're showing and the ones that I'm seeing, it definitely has kind of a Portal-ish feel to it, I guess. Just from it being like really eerie. But yeah, this looks insane.
I'm gonna look up how many endings it has real quick, because it's crazy. So the new game added 19 endings.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But that
That
was the original. I mean, that's the new game. The original had like some ungodly number. Let's see. Um, oh no, the original had 19. The new deluxe has 24 new endings to
oh
find.
wow.
So there's 43 endings total to this game.
How long is it? Like just to get one ending?
If you just went straight forward and listened to the narrator, like 10 minutes. I mean,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's a lot of exploring, and then the more you make the narrator mad, the more he'll start changing things. He'll start taking away doors or adding doors, or because he's getting so frustrated with you. And there's like glitch endings where you like jump out the window that you're not supposed to be able to get onto. Like if you jump on the desk and clip through the wall, there's an ending. There's just all kinds of weird stuff. And the new deluxe edition, they're making fun of that there was never a sequel. They're talking about how they're going to make a sequel, and so there's like a hidden sequel within the game. Uh, the new game adds a skip dialogue button, so you have to listen to the narrator. And if you keep hitting it, uh, the time dilation keeps expanding every time you hit skip. And if you keep hitting it, you end up in a desert wasteland where the world has ended, and it's just you and the narrator's dead and all this stuff. It's incredible. uh, so yeah, I sorry, I just spoiled one of the 40 something endings, but it's a great game. Highly recommended. Like I don't think I've even seen all the endings. I've seen a majority. I've probably seen at least 3/4 of the endings, but it's great. Highly
Severance,
recommended.
an Apple TV Plus series, took inspiration from the Stanley Parable.
There you go.
I've never heard of this show, but I have Apple
It
Plus.
has I think Adam Scott's the star of that. I've seen the
Yeah,
commercials for it. Yeah. Yeah. Uh I was not a big we'll get a little off topic. I was not a what was he on Parks and Recs?
yeah,
Yeah, I did not watch that show, but I kind of noticed him when I started watching his specials on Adult Swim about the greatest moments in TV history, where he just kept
yeah.
recreating the the old TV show intros. Those were funny. So
Yeah, I'm a big Adam Scott fan, so I might actually check that out.
yeah,
And the game too.
yeah, Stanley Parable, really neat game. And I'm like, again, we're trying to be vague, we're trying not to spoil things, but the narrator is so funny. There's a moment where he's like, "Oh, there's a broom closet. Don't worry about that." And you go stay in the broom closet and make him so mad because you keep staying in the broom closet. It's hilarious. So, well, yeah, like I said, it's a lot about free will and deconstructing games, and do you have to follow a path in life, or can you do whatever? And it's very interesting. So, highly recommended. All right, Caleb, what is your final game for the day? And we'll probably do this again on another show. There's so many independent games out there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So let me go ahead and paint a picture real quick. Um, I'm a big fan of Star Wars, and there was this game called Star Wars Battlefront 2 that is now known as Battlefront 2 Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it was a lot of fun. And then Pandemic Studios shuts down, and Free Radical, those who made
Time Splitter 2.
Time Splitters, yeah, the Time Splitters 2, Future Perfect, they take on the reins of making Star Wars Battlefront 3. And it was all but finished.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe it was the Disney buyout that happened, and they scrapped the game completely.
Yeah,
Um,
Disney killed a lot of their franchises behind the scenes. They did it the Rogue Squadron 3, Disney Infinity, a lot of stuff got canned when they started to decide to get out of a lot of the gaming stuff. So I don't know if that's the
yes,
same time period, but it sounds like it.
yeah. Well, years later, people would go on to find um, the code for Star Wars Battlefront 3, and they started to mod that to release Star Wars Battlefront 3. And then, of course, you got to know there was a cease and desist. Of course, there's always a cease and desist.
Yeah. We're seeing something similar happen right now. This has to do with movies. Jendy Tartovsky, or how you say his name, was making a Popeye movie for Sony that got canceled, and now the animatics have leaked. And so everybody's like, "Why didn't you make this movie, Sony? Why were you making the the emoticon or whatever movie or
Emoji movie?
Emoji movie? Yeah, why did you make that and not this?
Oh, and they released Morbius twice too. I'm never gonna let that go.
Twice. All right, so back to the game that almost blurted out. Go ahead.
So before they could lose everything, they actually decided to retool the engine, retool everything. And we end up getting this game called Galaxy in Turmoil. So if you haven't heard of Galaxy in Turmoil, it's on Steam. Really, whenever it comes to when it comes to indie games, you're either going to be playing on Steam or on the Switch at this point.
Yeah.
And so Galaxy in Turmoil is a super fun game. Just to give you some screens, I mean, this is Battlefront 2 right here. Absolutely insane. It's a lot of fun. You've got space combat. Really, the only thing that was difficult to the only thing that was difficult to bring back, which who knows how it would have worked, was the ground to space combat. That was always a thing that they talked about doing. Is like, you're on Coruscant during the Battle of Coruscant, and you're shooting, fighting, all that, and then you get in your ship and you go up to space and it'd be like these huge maps on the ground and huge maps in space. So there's not any of that, but I mean, like, that's an insane idea in general. But yeah, Galaxy in Turmoil is just such a fun game if you're a Star Wars fan, or if I know people who aren't Star Wars fans but they love Battlefront. So definitely check this game out. And myself, I actually like the DICE Battlefront 2 game, the Celebration Edition. What a comeback! So it's not like this is my only Battlefront fix. I still love Battlefront 2, but Galaxy in Turmoil is just such a fun experience because it's a fun game, and then you can also think about what could have been. So,
and just looking at these screenshots, I've never seen this game before. This is what my dream Star Fox game would kind of look like: landing on planets, going around, shooting bad guys, jumping in your R-wing, flying off, and flying to another planet. Yeah, and I could see the appeal of this. Yeah,
and decent controls too.
Yeah,
because Assault kind of had that, but they had to botch the ground controls. So
yeah.
But
yeah, this looks really cool. Free Radicals, for those who don't know, they were a lot of the ex-Rare employees that worked on like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and stuff. So these are like the kings of first-person shooter multiplayer and stuff. So yeah, really cool. Okay, let's move on to our final game. I've mentioned this one on the show several times. It is my go-to when I just want to play something on the Switch. That is Death Road to Canada. I freaking love this game. And it's a very silly game. You are basically, the idea is there's been a zombie outbreak, and you're like, you know what, Canada has no zombies. We're getting in the car. We're driving to Canada. The game is split into two different modes. You have the levels. So let me show you what one of the levels will look like. But it's just kind of like a you just run around beating stuff up. You can see this is where you actually get to Canada. Here's the zombie horde. Here's the Mounties helping you, and the beavers and the mooses helping you fight all the zombies. It is it's a lot of fun. You can make your own characters, or you can just play with randomly generated characters. Um, I've made my own Mario and Luigi characters. That's usually who I start with, but your party changes so often that it doesn't really matter. Between levels, it switches to like an Oregon Trail type game, where you have to make decisions, and the decisions can greatly affect what's going to happen. So here's one where it says it's getting late. There's no great place to camp. So a zombie hobble around in the far distance, and one might sneak up on the group while you sleep. Who should take watch? So you have to figure out who in your team is trustworthy. Maybe the person is lazy, they're gonna go to sleep right away and stuff. And so you don't immediately know what everybody's stats are. So you're doing these stat checks to see who you could trust. So like if you click take shifts here, then everybody's gonna be tired the next day. So when you go to fight the zombies, everybody's gonna be real sluggish when you're fighting and stuff. So your decisions matter. And some of these scenarios are very funny. Again, there's a mode called familiar. No, the familiar character mode is where it picks people that you've created. Then there's a surprise character mode or something like that, and then it's a lot of parodies of other characters like Jason Voorhees or Link or an anime girl. The anime girl is so funny. Because her face is slowly melting and then she just explodes at one point. It doesn't explain why, it just happens. It's like her little picture at the bottom of the screen keeps getting more and more distorted every level. Then she just explodes. A bizarre game, but it is so much fun. I love it, and I've played through it probably 20 times now, and it's different every time I play it. So yeah, it's my go-to if I just want to chill out, play something fun. Death Row to Canada, amazing game. So, and I know I hype this game all the time, people, and they just think I'm crazy. So tonight I'm giving you 3 crazy picks: Doki Doki Literature Club, Death Row to Canada, and The Stanley Parable.
What an adventure! Are there any indie games that like you're on the lookout for? Like for me, it's not necessarily indie because it's still Square, but Harvestella looks a lot of fun.
I'm always looking at weird games. There's some games that are already out that I've never played that I've seen other people play that I want to play, like Papers, Please. We'll probably talk about on another one of these episodes, where you're just like I can't think of you're like at a checkpoint in like a Russian country, and you have to check for contraband and stuff. And it gets progressively harder and harder and harder. That one looks like a lot of fun. And again, it has like multiple endings depending on what choices you make.
Stray is huge right now.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about Stray. I haven't really watching that. And this might get me kicked off the live stream. Over the years, I've never played a game, but I'm a big fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. Just the story. And the backstory on that is, as a parent, I like to know what my kids are playing or watching. So they're obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's, so I had to know what it was. And then I got obsessed with the mysteries and the stories behind the game. And so every time a new game comes out, I always want to know, what they revealed this time. Oh, who's the serial killer this time? So just a lot of stuff. So that's one I will never play, but anytime a new game comes out, I just want to know everything about it. There's one that's been out lately called Andy's Apple Farm that I've been watching. where a developer was making a game called Andy's Apple Farm in the 80s or 90s. I mean, this is the backstory. This isn't obviously true. And something happened to all of his family members and himself where they all died, and now their souls are trapped inside the game. So it looks like this cute little game, but there's really something dark going on behind the scenes. So every time they release a chapter, more and more is revealed about what's actually going on. So that's an interesting one. A lot of these I don't actually play. I watch YouTubers play them because I just don't have the time. So, and I like watching their reactions to them. So, but that's me. All right, let's get to our final segment today. Caleb. He made me do it where we take turns making each other watch or play or read something. We're doing bad movies and bad TV shows all summer. So I made Caleb watch the delightful film Troll 2. Caleb, what are your thoughts on Troll 2?
So, I went into this knowing that this was technically one of the worst films ever made, that has one of those cult followings and is known as the best worst movie ever. There's actually a whole documentary about the production of this movie called Best Worst Movie. And I can definitely say this was not an enjoyable watch for me.
Oh, you didn't like it? Oh, I
No.
love this movie.
So I know there's a lot of people who like it ironically. This isn't one that I could even like ironically. Oh man, this was like a Goosebumps episode.
So the plot of the movie, real quick, is there's a kid named Joshua. His grandfather has died, and they're taking a trip to a town called Nilbog. It's like an exchange program with another family. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But
I
turns
mean,
out,
wife swap doesn't make any sense, but they did
Yeah.
that for a couple of years.
But it turns out the town is actually full of goblins, not trolls, because Nilbog backwards is goblin. And
Dun, dun.
shocking. And they are trying to get them to eat, is it vegetables? I can't remember. It's been a while.
So these trolls are vegetarians.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they poison food,
Mm-hmm.
so that way they turn their victims into vegetables so
Yes.
they can eat them.
Yeah. So
It reminds me of that SpongeBob episode where he's like, "I wish the Dutchman was a vegetarian," and then the Dutchman turns them into vegetables. Like it's that.
Yeah. So the picture on the screen is one of the kids that's screaming, "Oh my god!" because he's realizing he's going to turn into a plant so they can eat him.
So I there is a. Do you watch JonTron?
Yes.
Okay, so have you seen the Star Wars Connect one?
I'm sure I have. It's been a while.
Okay. So whenever Star Wars Connect first came out, he did a review of Star Wars Connect. And whenever he did Galactic Dance Off, and he sees Han Solo dancing to Jason Segel, and he's like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, that was a reference to Troll 2." I didn't. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, "Wow!" There's a lot of stuff that This is a lot like watching Monty Python and the Holy Grail for the first time, because there's a lot of stuff that I know, but I just didn't know where it came from.
Yeah, that's like watching Princess Bride, realizing, oh, there's Princess Bride references everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, you just didn't know it. Yeah, you didn't get what everybody was talking about. Yeah, so the kid keeps seeing his ghostly grandfather. They're trying to save the family from these evil goblins, try and prevent them from eating food. At one point, the kid pees on all over the food to stop them from eating it. But the best part of the movie, in my opinion, is the goblins are led by a lady named Credence, and she is overacting so much. It is hilarious.
Yep.
And there's a point that makes no sense where she seduces a guy with a cob of corn, and there's popcorn flying everywhere. It makes no sense, but I just adore this film. There used to be a riff track of it. They had to pull it down due to some issues with the guest riffer. Had some personal problems, so they didn't want to be associated with them anymore. I wish they would do this episode again. Uh, it is. It's just. I can watch this with riff tracks or without. I laugh every time because it is so
Oh,
stupid.
and everyone is getting Nickelodeon slimed.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's slime everywhere. There's no trolls in the movie at all.
Something way scarier though. The scariest thing, and I'm not even joking. Like this thing, like scared the crap out of me in this movie. Was that double decker bologna sandwich? Um, so if there is a food item that I could like wipe from existence Thanos style, it would be bologna. Bologna is disgusting. I hate it. And that double decker bologna sandwich, I've never seen such thickly cut slices of bologna. And I'm just like, ugh. But yeah, that was the scariest part about the movie was the sandwich.
Yeah. So the and from what I know from watching a little bit of the documentary, the director and his wife who wrote the movie didn't really speak English, and she
What's
wanted to make
wrong?
a statement against vegetarianism with this movie. Uh, the actor who played the dad just showed up to be an extra, and they said, "Oh, you're playing one of the main characters." He's like, "I've never acted before in my life. I'm just a dentist. What are you talking about?" And the crazy guy that was like milk in the convenience store, he was like literally from an insane asylum down the street from where they were filming. So the whole movie is, if you love bad movies, this one is way up there. Um, so I know Payback is coming. Caleb's gonna have something for me to watch next week. Um,
Yes.
so while he's looking for that, the week after that will be the final one of these stinker movies. I have a pick that after Caleb watches it, he may not ever speak to me again. Um, so we'll see. But all right, Caleb, do you have a pick for next week?
So if you're able to find it, which you said that you were able to find it on something, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. What was it called? Get some space cowboy or something. What was it?
It's not that cool, no. It's called The Astronaut Farmer.
Astronaut
Um,
Farmer.
yes.
Yeah.
So this movie I've always cited as one of the worst films I've ever seen. Now I've only seen it the one time, probably about 10, 15 years ago. It's whenever it came out. I saw this movie in the movie theater because back in the day, we had this cable package. And the cable package, 17, 16 years ago, geez, um, this cable package um, allowed you to, on Tuesdays, you got to see a free movie at this local movie theater. And so we saw a movie every week for 3 years, and we never saw doubles.
Yeah.
So this was one of them. And whenever people tell me that a certain Marvel movie is the worst movie they've ever seen, or if they tell me that, um, if they tell me that The Rise of Skywalker is the worst movie they've ever seen, or something like that is the worst movie I've ever seen, I am personally offended because I know for a fact they have not seen this movie. For me, the greatest sin that a film can ever commit is be boring.
Oh yeah.
And that is this movie.
Yeah. So there's a service called Canopy that I've never heard of that is apparently streaming this movie. So I will look for that, see if it's available. If not, we'll pull some type of Audible and switch it to something else. But
Sure.
I think I can find this movie. That being said, I forgot to talk about something at the very beginning of the show when I was doing
Okay.
my weekly recap because we haven't done this in 2 weeks. So I just want to briefly talk about this. Watched a movie called RRR on Netflix. It is awesome. Everybody should go see it. Um, I came close to saying it was better than Everything Everywhere All at Once. Then I came to my senses and said no, but it's really, really good. It is a They took some historical figures in the history of India, and they kind of told like a hyper fictionalized action movie story about these two people who fought for independence against the British. It is a really, really cool action movie.
And just a
Um,
wild Ray Stevenson is in it. Wow.
it's really cool. Really recommend it. I think it's about 3 hours long, um, and it's subtitled. But it's a really good movie about some of the British colonizers take a girl from the tribe, and so this guy's trying to get back. That he runs into this other guy who is a uh, a guy who's from India who has joined the British for some reason, and so these two guys are going to come to a head. And I don't want to give anything else away, but it's a great film. Watched it with my youngest son; he loved it. Uh, just a really cool type of action film that we don't see too often these days. We used to get them a lot in the 80s and 90s. We don't really get them anymore. A lot of that really over the top violence, uh, you know, like almost like John Wick or something like or The Matrix or something. But really cool movie. Highly recommend that you check it out. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and it's on Netflix right now.
All
So
right. Cool.
so everybody should check that out. That's going to do it for us. Next week, we're going to do another Lifeboat episode. We're going to do the top 100 DC characters that should survive the great virus purge. If you don't know what we're talking about, check out the Marvel Lifeboat episode we did a couple weeks ago. But until then, I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and we'll talk to you later. Bye.